Welcome, my name is Michael Bond and I'm here to talk about the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. And I'm going to just give you 7, this will be part 1. If you want part 2, like and subscribe. Here's 7 laws of marketing that are awesome, and I've learned so freaking much by a multimillionaire in the space and giant virtual mentors like Gary Vaynerchuk and Tim Ferriss and Noah Kagan and various individuals. Here are some core principles about marketing. Number 1 that I'm going to talk about is number 1 in the book. It's called Law of Leadership. It's first to market advantage. Some people call it first mover advantage. And honestly, when you're the first one, you get to write the narrative. Number 2, law of category. And so the law of category is that concept of maybe you weren't first to market. You want to be the first cook on YouTube, but someone beats you to it. And then a second person, and a third person, and you're number 10 on YouTube as a cook, right? And so instead of saying I'm number 10 on YouTube as a cook, you say I'm number 1 as a Japanese cook on YouTube. So when it comes to first in the category, so there was computers before the Apple, but they created a category of the first personal computer, PC, and then Apple came in and it's like the first one with the mouse. And then if the market is big enough and there's demand, you can make new categories and you can be the first to that category, and then you can brand yourself in that way. Number 3, the law of the mind. So it's basically called better to be first in the mind of your consumer, your potential client, your potential customers, your visitors, than to be first to market. So this is back to, again, kind of goes back to the computers. So the first computer, like physical computer, was the ATR 8800 or something. It was like $22,000, something crazy like that. This is one of those things that, like, when you think MP3 player, what do you think of? Do you think of just some off-name brand, or do you think of iPod? It's that whole idea of who's first to mind? Soda. And back in the day, it was like mainly Coca-Cola, right? First to mind is more helpful for the business than first to market. So it's like, because there's a lot of times that the first to market is a beta, it kind of gets ugly and old, and then the new guy comes up and markets it better, distributes it better, refines the process, and then they take the market shares. Number 4, law of perception. So marketing is a big game of a battle of perception, not really product. Just because a product is the best product does not mean it's going to win in the market. So the product doesn't need to be the best, but the perception of the consumer needs to be the best. So in that sense, just because Coca-Cola might be first in the market, but people love Pepsi because of blah, 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 then that's better for them. And it's that whole idea of like the perception matters more than the actual product, the actual quality. That's not as important as it is to be the best in the eyes of the consumer. So I jump to number 7. Number 7, the law of the ladder. Imagine the top 10 brands on a ladder of ranking from 1, 2, 3, 4, so etc. And so the whole premise of the ladder is that there's one on top, and then the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth, right? And so when it comes to marketing strategies, they're not the same. So number 1 shouldn't be marketing like number 2, and number 2 shouldn't be marketing like number 3, etc. Because it's a different perspective, because you're attacking the next rung or the next couple of rungs. And so number 1 is not going to be like, oh, Samsung sucks, oh, Samsung this, oh, Huawei is this, oh, they're not going to look down, because then they're going to be bringing unwanted attention. They're going to deviate unwanted attention to their competitors if they're marketing down, right? So they're just going to be marketing to the consumer, saying we're the best and saying how unique we are and showing the benefits on what consumers are already saying, how much better the camera is, how much easier the user face is, etc. But number 2, who's like Samsung, is going to be attacking Apple, like, look at this garbage thing, or number 3 is going to be attacking both number 2 and number 1. So it really depends on what rung of the ladder you're on. And if you're not number 10, if you're not in the ranking of 10, well, attacking the top competitors is likely going to get you eyeballs, because you're going to be talking about something already popular and explaining why yours is better in certain avenues, right? Number 9, the law of the opposite. So when it comes to the brand messaging, right, even a big brand, even a gigantic brand like Coca-Cola, they can't be marketing every type of brand positioning, right? So when they're marketing, they're going to be choosing a brand positioning. They're not going to be choosing 16 different brand positions. It doesn't make any sense, right? So you're going to be saying Coca-Cola love, or whatever, Coca-Cola feelings, right? And so the whole concept is the law of the opposite. Whatever the number one or number two or whoever's above you is weak at, is not emphasizing, you go after that. Because Coca-Cola is focused on love, that's catering to group 1 and 2, right? But then who's getting excluded? Group 3 and 4 and 5. So now you cater, your brand messaging is catering to group 3, 4, or 5. You could do multiple groups at a time. I highly recommend you obviously start with one group, but it's that concept of, if Coca-Cola is the classic, the vintage, then Pepsi, they're the new and the hip. They did branding positioning with celebrities and then young individuals, young actors, young professionals. So whoever's above you, you do the inverse. You're not fighting their fight because they have a lot more dollars than you, most likely. When you're facing Coca-Cola, if you have a soda of some kind, you don't want to use the tactics that Coca-Cola is doing because they already have that locked down. But what's the market? What group is getting neglected because Coca-Cola is going for classic and vintage? And then Pepsi is going for young and unique. Now go weird and funky, or go crazy, chaotic, like whatever. And so Red Bull kind of did the chaotic perspective, right? So number 12, Juni. So when people are so fruitful, when Apple's so darn big, they wanted to expand, and they were actually doing this. But when Jobs was out of the office, they were doing all these crazy other side avenues. When Steve Jobs came back, they cut off so many freaking side projects. It was ridiculous because they have some really smart people on Apple, right? And they have real smart people, but they were already capturing a certain part of the market. Like, you know what? Let's try to capture group 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. But when it comes to marketing, when you cater to one group, you're excluding another group. It's like you can't say you're vintage and new. You can't say you're vintage and classic and the wild, crazy ones. It breaks down, right? So if it's not coherent and it doesn't make sense, then the consumers won't get it, accept it, and it won't grow. So that whole concept of you choose one, then you're going to exclude another. And so sometimes they see that, Pepsi or Coca-Cola see that, and they try to go too wide. You can and will water down your brand. And this is that classic maxim of less is more. So when it comes to branding, you can't hog up 16 different groups and grab all their attention. I mean, technically, if you have like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Kylie Jenner and like all these other individuals that are like spokespeople for you, you can capture a much bigger audience than anyone else if you have that type of budget, but you still exclude certain people. So that's it for today. I hope you learned a little bit of something. I just want to help you guys succeed as entrepreneurs, as solopreneurs, as hustlers. I want you guys to grasp certain marketing concepts so you can grow much faster and better and easier. So, hope that was helpful. Please leave a comment below if you liked it, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Take care.